Hi guys! This is the greenhouse update for March 2017. I know it is already April, but I am a little bit late and it's okay. So let's get started. Here I have my Laelia anceps Irwin, and this one was purchased in late 2007 or 16. It was an early spike when I purchased it, and it is now in bloom. So you can see that there's the plant right there. It's still in its original pot when I purchased it, and it has a very long spike. This is a huge surprise for me because this is the first time the Dendrobium spesiosum has bloomed for me. I got this more than 2 years ago at the San Francisco Orchid Exposition, and I believe it was the first time I've ever been to the exposition. I got this orchid when it was a very small plant, and I was a little bit worried because I wasn't sure if it was going to bloom within 2 years, but I'm happy to say that it has, even though it's pretty small. And the first time that it's bloomed, it's still a lot of blooms. I was expecting maybe 1 or 2 flowers, but this is actually pretty good for this plant. This beauty here is the Cattleya amesthystoglossa. I really am butchering that name, so I'm going to put the name on the screen for you. This one was a gift from one of my orchid friends, and it is a really huge plant. It's the first time I was able to rebloom it, and I only got it last year, so I do have to say that I have quite a huge success with big Cattleyas. I believe this is the Oncidium tiger crow. It's still in bloom. I believe I have a video or a part of it shown in my last greenhouse update. This is the last of its bloom for this plant particularly, but I do have another one in bloom on the other side of the greenhouse. Both of my LC Blazing Sun are in bloom at the same time. One was a gift from my sister, and this is one of them right here. The color is very vibrant, and it's a pretty simple coloring, but overall it's still really pretty, and it gives a pop to the greenhouse, especially when there's not a lot of yellows. So this is the other one that's also in bloom as well, with 3 blooms. And next up, I wanted to show you guys my air plant. This was a gift from Chris from Growing Things, and you can see that it got quite big. And I could actually have this plant, or this air plant, in some of my videos as well. It has 5 babies now, and before that it was just a mom plant. This pretty lady here is the Vascostylis Pine Rivers. I got this one from Moats Orchids, and their plants are very, very healthy. I'm very happy with them. I got this one mid of last year, and it was already in bloom with 1 flower spike, and I'm lucky enough to be able to rebloom it with 2 flower spikes. At first I was really happy to have 1 flower spike, but then the other one came up and I was super duper happy. So this one is fragrant. It's very intense, perfumey, flowery scent. This is a yellow cross from Sunset Valley Orchids, so no surprise that it is yellow and a little bit of green in it. But I got this one, I believe, around the same time last year, so when it was just starting to come out of dormancy. But this plant really surprised me because I was really not expecting for it to bloom, and it has 3 flower spikes for me. You can see that the flowers on this one is starting to fade already because this spike has been open for quite a while, but I just forgot to videotape it. And you can see this is another flower spikes over here. This one doesn't have as many flowers as that one, but still it's pretty, and it opened a lot later than the first one. And here is another one over here. You can see some of the flowers have completely faded already, but most of the time, or most of them, the flowers are still there. There's some water in it. But anyway, I'm really proud of myself because I was able to rebloom it. And there were some people who were questioning my ability to take care of these guys because they do require a little bit more special circumstances in terms of watering and so forth. But I think I did pretty well. I didn't kill any of mine so far. Lo and behold, my Fred Clarkara After Dark is in bloom once again. I don't know if I did a video of it blooming the first time at the end of last year, but I really thought that after it bloomed and all the flowers dropped, that and all of the leaves dropped, that it would go into dormancy, and it did. However, surprise, surprise, it put out another flower spike a few months after it put out the first flower spike. And this is the second flower spike, so I was caught by surprise, so I didn't have a chance to stake it up. It's just kind of hanging downwards, and it's very, very heavy and intensely fragrant. Another rebloom for me is the Maxillaria tenuifolia Waterfield. This was my first Maxillaria tenuifolia ever, and I did buy other ones from other places, but this one always blooms at the exact time every single year, which is pretty crazy, but it has never disappointed me. It's always bloomed at least twice a year. The first time is always around this time at the beginning of spring, and then in the summer it'll bloom again. This one has way more flowers than last year, which I'm really surprised about, and last year also had way more flowers than a year before. So even though it's grown really slow, the blooms have increased pretty much, like doubled every year. So I'm pretty glad about that. And the scent is seriously very heavenly. It smells just like coconut. My Encyclia cordillera has been with me for quite some time now. I did have to divide it last year into 3, and then I gave 1 division to my friend and kept 2 divisions for myself. And both of them are currently in bloom right now. So this is one of the plants. You can see that there's the dead flower from last year still on there, but the flower spike is still really pretty. Even though it's been divided, it's still giving me a lot of flowers. I got my BC Yellowbird last year from a fellow grower, and it is blooming for me for the first time. So you can see these blooms have been open for quite a while because they are yellow. When they first opened, they're actually orange for quite a few days before they turned into this yellow one, and they do last for quite a long time because this one has been in bloom for at least a few weeks, almost a whole month now. This is the Yamadaraa Redland Sunset, and it was purchased at the same time that I got the Yellowbird from the same person, and I've been growing this for a while, and I did not even look it up to see what it looks like, but I'm really happy because it looks so much like sorbet. It's a great color combination with all the veins in there, and it actually looks like it's been dyed, but it's not. I guarantee you it has not been. It's just the veins are just so awesome and prominent, and you can see that the lip is a kind of pinkish strawberry color. And then the outside, the petals and sepals are more of like a mango color. It's a really great color combination, and it's even prettier in real life and fragrant as well. It smells kind of like lemon verbena. This gorgeous Zygopetalum intermedia crossed with Macchiae was purchased 3 years ago from the San Francisco Orchid Expo. And I got it when it was in bloom, and it has blooms for me at least once a year. Unfortunately, last year I had to divide it to give it to my friends, and I was left with a very small division. and I wasn't even sure the division was going to survive because it was just so small and shabby looking and very, very sad. But fortunately, it bounced right back and it's doing a whole lot better. It put out for me 2 flower spike, which is pretty awesome considering just how shabby it is. My friend gave me a division of his Cattleya intermedia orlata, and this newest pseudobulb grew when it was with me, and it put out 1 flower, which is totally fine for me because I wasn't expecting a flower at all. I just got the plant not too long ago, and it looks like a girl wearing a hat, or a white hat with pink frills. My Dendrobium loddigesii is currently in bloom right now. This is one of the division, second biggest division, and I just mounted it because I like the effect that it has when it cascades down and it blooms, and it's very, very pretty. Looks very natural. I do have a mama plant that is a lot bigger, and it's in a moss ball. But this one is mounted, and I initially was going to sell it, but due to some reasons, I don't know if I want to put it on the market. I don't want to get too much into it, but yeah, I just don't know if I want to get into the market right now. And I'll show you guys the moss ball one. This is in a moss ball. The roots is in a moss root ball thingy. It is also in bud, and you can see they're all the way up at the top right there. It is a lot bigger, and I do need to spray it a lot because the roots are just all over the place and the canes get very, very dry. So eventually I am going to have to move all of these guys down to underneath the mister. They just came out of dormancy, so I didn't have time to do that. Okay, and also the rat tail cactus. I'm not sure if these guys are, if those like pink blobbies things are flowers or not. It's seriously my first time growing them, and I've had them for 2 years now and they haven't bloomed. So I'm hoping they're flowers, but they're kind of furry, so I don't know if they're really flowers or new growths. You guys tell me. Help me out here. The Paphiopedilum learnianum is blooming again. This is a sequential bloomer, and at first, at the end of winter, or actually at the beginning of winter, I wasn't sure if the spike was going to die because it completely stopped growing and it didn't develop a bud at all. But then suddenly when winter is gone, it's developed a bud and it started blooming again. So I'm glad that I didn't cut off the flower spike. It was still green, so of course I wasn't going to cut it off, but I was scared that it was going to just turn brown and die off, but luckily it didn't. I'm going to show you guys the last 2 of the blooms for March, and I have 2 Leptotes bicolors right here, one on the left and one on the right, and both of them usually bloom at the same time, and this year they're doing the same thing. They're blooming at the same time. Unfortunately, I had an issue with them rotting during the winter, and I feel like it wasn't seriously entirely my fault because I always try to water during the sunny days, and I water early in the morning when the sun comes out, but because winter is very cold this year, and even though I blasted both of the fans and I have the heaters on at night, I don't think it was enough because some of them rotted and dropped their bulbs, and I was really disappointed because this plant, if it wasn't for the rot, it would have been double the size. And you can see that it still has quite a bit of blooms on it, but I think without the rot it would have been so much better. And both of them did the same thing, and they dropped so many bulbs. I was heartbroken. I was actually worried that they weren't going to make it because of just how many bulbs they dropped. Last but not least, I have the Elsie Cariad's Mini Queenie Angel Kiss. This name is so freaking long, it's hard for me to remember. But this flower, or actually this plant, was purchased as a plug baby. So it was in one of those plugs, or as you call it, one of those like gray foams, and it was growing in there as a little baby. And I got it, I grew it for more than 2 years, and now it's putting out a flower. So you can see that this flower hasn't fully opened yet. It's actually pretty big for its size, because the plant isn't too big yet, but still it is starting to open, and it is about a semi-large bloom. It's very fragrant. I love the color. It's more like a blue purple blurple color, as I would call it. I really like it, and I'm glad that I was able to have it survive for this long. I did sell, I think, 4 of them on my eBay, and I'm hoping that they haven't died, and that the people who bought them got them to bloom, because I think it's really rewarding to get something that's so small and have them bloom for them. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you guys next time. Bye.